"What do you mean we've had 3 cashiers quit in 2 weeks?" Nathaniel Tiller asked, shutting his laptop harder than he meant to. It was a Thursday morning, and Nathaniel was in his downtown office 12 floors up, staring at a spreadsheet that didn't match the cheerful numbers his district manager had been feeding him. The fast casual chain he bought 8 years ago had grown to 12 stores across 3 states. He didn't know every face anymore, but he tried to know the pulse. Lately, that pulse had felt off. The store in question was one of the newer ones, opened just under 2 years ago in a busy suburban area. It should have been doing great. Instead, turnover was high, customer reviews were slipping, and labor hours were being slashed. When he asked the district manager about it, she blamed the lazy new generation and said the store just needed stricter hands. That didn't sit right with him. Nathaniel decided to go in undercover. He shaved his beard, dyed his hair darker, and wore a pair of thick-rimmed glasses. He had a fake name tag made that read Rick Trainee. The plan was simple. Spend a few days working the register, watching, listening, and getting his own read on what the hell was going on. No one at that location had ever met him. Aside from a handful of older employees at the flagship store, most had joined after the company started expanding. It was a corporate chain now. Headquarters was in another state. He was just a name on a paycheck. He walked into the store that Saturday, dressed in the standard black polo and khakis. The place looked clean, but the energy inside was tight. No music played. The workers were quiet. A supervisor with a buzz cut and narrowed eyes stood by the prep line, arms crossed like a bouncer. "You the new trainee?" the man asked. "Yeah," Nathaniel said, adjusting his glasses. "Rick." "You'll be on register. Don't touch anything you're not told to. Don't talk unless it's to a customer. Got it?" Nathaniel nodded. "What's your name?" "Tyler," he said, already walking away. "I'm the shift lead." Over the next few hours, Nathaniel worked alongside a girl named Ava, maybe 19, who handled the register like second nature. She spoke softly, but customers lit up when she greeted them. She helped Nathaniel when he fumbled with the touchscreen, and she even covered for him when he forgot to offer a receipt. "You're doing fine," she whispered. "Tyler's always like that, just don't take it personal." Nathaniel nodded, but inside he was unsettled. Tyler hovered over everyone, snapping when someone moved too slow or missed an order. When a kid from the kitchen dropped a sandwich wrap, Tyler made him remake it and shouted loud enough for customers to hear. By the 4th hour, Nathaniel noticed something else: no one seemed to be taking breaks. A clock and screen in the break room showed several names still on shift, well past 6 hours. "Hey," he asked Ava quietly, "when do people take breaks here?" Ava gave a nervous glance toward the prep line. "We don't. Tyler says we don't get them if we're behind." "That's not legal," Nathaniel muttered. Ava shrugged like she'd heard it before. Around 6, a teen boy named Oliver, tall, rail-thin, maybe 16, walked to the back and tapped the screen to clock out. His hands shook a little. He didn't say anything, just looked exhausted. Tyler appeared out of nowhere, stepping in front of him. "Where do you think you're going?" he snapped. Oliver flinched. "My shift's over." "You don't clock out unless I say so," Tyler barked. "You leave now, don't bother coming back." Nathaniel froze mid-transaction. The customer in front of him glanced over, eyebrows raised. Oliver looked like he might cry. "I have to go," he said. "I've been here since open, sir. "Then you should have worked faster," Tyler said, stepping closer. "You clock out now. I'm marking you as no call, no show tomorrow. That'll be your last day here." Nathaniel stepped out from behind the register. "Hey," he called across the floor. Tyler turned, eyes narrowing. "What?" "I'll finish up here," Nathaniel said. "Let him go." "Who even are you? You're a trainee." Nathaniel's mind raced. He couldn't blow his cover yet, not like this. He turned to Oliver. Go ahead, man. I saw you working hard all day. Oliver nodded quickly and slipped out the back. Tyler walked over, eyes sharp. You don't tell people what to do here. I do. Nathaniel stared at him. Right. He spent the rest of the night watching every second Tyler moved. He saw the way Ava's shoulders tensed every time he passed, saw how employees whispered warnings to each other when he got angry. No one smiled. The place ran like a machine, but one that was barely holding together. By the end of the shift, Nathaniel sat in his car, gripping the steering wheel. He felt sick. He had built this company for people like Ava and Oliver, not for tyrants like Tyler. Tomorrow he was coming back, not as Rick the trainee, but as the man who owned every inch of that store. Sunday morning, Nathaniel arrived early, well before open. He wore a navy blazer, pressed slacks, and his real name tag. The store manager, a woman named Karina, was already inside, standing near the walk-in cooler with a clipboard in hand. She looked up when she heard the door chime and froze when she saw him. Her expression shifted from confusion to controlled panic. "Good morning," Nathaniel said calmly, stepping inside. "I didn't know you were coming today, Mr. Tiller," she said, setting the clipboard down a little too fast. "I know," he said, scanning the spotless floor and the silent prep line. That was the point. She opened her mouth to speak, but he held up a hand. "Let's not waste time. I want to speak with every employee on shift today, privately, one by one, in the office." Karina swallowed hard. "Of course, I can start by." "Where's Tyler?" "He's not scheduled today," she said quickly. "He worked a double yesterday." Nathaniel nodded. "Call him in." Her hesitation lasted just a second too long. "Now," he added. She picked up her phone and stepped into the back. Over the next hour, as the store opened and the first trickle of customers came in, Nathaniel sat in the office and spoke with each employee. He asked short, direct questions. No recordings, just a notepad, a pen, and eye contact. Ava came in first. She looked startled to see him in a suit. "You're not Rick," she said, sitting down slowly. "No, I'm Nathaniel Tiller. I own this company." Her eyes darted to the door. "Am I in trouble?" "No," he said, "but I need you to be honest with me. What's it like working here?" She hesitated, hands in her lap. "It's fine. I watched you cover for me yesterday, and I saw the way you looked at Tyler when he walked around. Fine doesn't match that." Ava took a breath. "It's just, we're always short-staffed, and when we fall behind, he gets worse. He tells us no breaks, says it's our fault if we're too slow. I've seen people cry in the walk-in, and he tells them to pull it together or quit." "Have you reported him?" "We tried. Karina tells us she'll talk to him, but nothing changes. It's been like this for months." Nathaniel wrote in silence, then looked up. "Has he ever threatened you directly?" "Yes. He said if I ever left early again, even if I was sick, he'd write me up and make sure I didn't get hours the next week." "Thank you," he said, standing. "You can go." She left quickly, visibly shaken. Next came Lewis, a dishwasher in his early 20s. He didn't make eye contact at first, just kept his arms crossed. "I don't want any trouble," he said. "You're not in trouble," Nathaniel replied. "I just want to know how things run here." Lewis glanced at the door. "You mean when Karina's not around?" "Yes." "Then it's all Tyler. He tells us what to do. He skips safety checks. If we're low on gloves or sanitizer, he says to make do. If we complain, he writes us up and Karina signs it. It's like they cover for each other." "Do you feel safe here?" Lewis shook his head. "Not really. I've gotten cut more than once because we're told to rush. One time, a fryer didn't get cleaned properly and someone slipped on oil. Tyler said if they filed a report, he'd call them a liar." Nathaniel's jaw tightened. Who slipped? Oliver, he said. Same kid from yesterday. He didn't even tell his parents. After Louis left, Nathaniel sat alone in the office for a moment, turning his pen slowly in his fingers. He had grown this business from a single sandwich shop into a regional brand. But somewhere along the way, he'd gotten too far from the floor, too far from people like Oliver. He stood and stepped into the front. The store was steady. Customers were being served with forced smiles. Ava was back at the register. Louis was elbow deep in soapy water in the back. Karina stood near the drink station, watching him. Tyler's on his way, she said. Good, Nathaniel replied. Let's talk now. He led her into the office and closed the door. How long have you been manager here? Since it opened, she said. I helped hire most of the team. And how long have you been aware of what Tyler's been doing? She shifted in her seat. He's strict, but he gets results. Labor stays under budget, and our ticket times are low. At what cost? Her silence said everything. I've spoken to almost everyone here, he said, and I know what's been happening. No breaks, consistent threats, unsafe conditions, people being intimidated into silence. You signed off on write-ups that were retaliatory. That makes you complicit. Her voice dropped. I didn't know it was that bad. You did, he said flatly. You just didn't think anyone would come looking. There was a knock at the door. Come in, Nathaniel said. Tyler stepped in, wearing a gray hoodie and jeans. He glanced between Karina and Nathaniel, confused. Who are you? Nathaniel stood. Nathaniel Tiller. I own this company. Sit down. Tyler's face darkened, but he sat. I was undercover here yesterday, Nathaniel continued. I watched you threaten a minor for trying to clock out after a full shift. I watched you deny breaks. I've heard from multiple employees that you create a hostile and unsafe work environment. Do you deny any of that? You don't understand how hard it is to run this place, Tyler said. If I don't push them, orders back up. I'm doing what it takes to keep things running. No, Nathaniel said. You're doing what it takes to keep your ego intact, at the expense of your team. Karina shifted, but said nothing. Tyler leaned forward. So what, you're here to scare us, make some speech and walk out? No, Nathaniel said, pulling 2 documents from a folder. I'm here to make changes. Effective immediately, you're both terminated. Your actions have violated multiple company policies and labor laws. Tyler pushed back from the table. You can't just walk in here and fire people. I can, Nathaniel said, and I just did. Tyler stood, eyes wide with disbelief. Who's going to run this place then? You. No, Nathaniel said. The people who should have been running it all along. Tyler stormed out, muttering under his breath. Karina followed slowly, stunned. Nathaniel walked to the front and stepped behind the register. The staff looked up, confused. Tyler and Karina are no longer with the company, he said. Starting today, this store will be run differently. Fairly, legally, and with respect. A few glances were exchanged. No one said anything yet. I'll be here all week, he added, working beside you. I want your input on what needs to change. Schedules, supplies, training, nothing's off the table. Ava looked at him unsure. Are you serious? Yes, and I'm starting with one thing right now. He turned to Louis. Go take your break, full 30 minutes, paid. Louis blinked. You're sure? I'm sure. As he walked to the back, Nathaniel turned to the rest of the team. We're going to build something better here, but I can't do it without you. They watched him closely. No one cheered, no one clapped, but slowly the tension in the room started to ease. And for the first time that day, someone Ava allowed herself the smallest nod. Nathaniel stood at the back of the store, arms crossed as he watched the opening team adjust to the change. The energy inside was cautious, measured steps, second glances, the kind of silence that came not from laziness, but from years of watching what you said. There was no cheering, no celebration. Just a slow, careful recalibration of how to move without being punished for it. He wasn't expecting overnight trust, but he wasn't leaving until he earned it. By mid-morning, the lunch prep team had rotated in. One of the newer hires, a tall girl with dark braids named Danica, arrived 5 minutes early and immediately grabbed gloves and a cutting board. She didn't speak much, but Nathaniel noticed how her movements were quick and practiced, her knife worked smooth. She checked the produce bins without being told, filled the depleted tomato tray, and double-checked the labels on the meat. "You've been here long?" Nathaniel asked, stepping beside her. 3 months, she said. "I was seasonal, but they kept me on." "You like it?" Danica didn't answer right away. "I like the work, like being fast. I don't like being yelled at for things I didn't do." "Who yelled at you?" She didn't look at him. "It doesn't matter now, guess." "I'm not asking to shame anyone," he said. "I'm trying to learn what we've built here, what works, what doesn't. I need to know what's broken." Danica finally turned her head just slightly. "He called me slow once, in front of the line. I just come back from the bathroom, said I probably shouldn't drink so much if I couldn't handle it." Nathaniel's jaw tightened. That wasn't just rude, that's harassment. Danica shrugged. "It's not even the worst thing he said. He told Devin once that if he didn't talk less and sweat more, he'd cut his hours. Devin has a stutter. He wasn't talking just to talk." Nathaniel scanned the kitchen. "Where's Devin?" "He quit 2 weeks ago, said he couldn't take it anymore." That made 7 names so far, people who had either quit or been pushed out in just over a month. The numbers weren't just statistics anymore. They were faces, most of them young, some still in school, just trying to earn enough to get by. He watched Danica wipe down her station again, even though it was already clean. "You shouldn't have had to put up with that," he said. Danica gave a small nod, then went back to slicing cucumbers. Shortly after noon, the lunch rush hit harder than expected. A line formed past the door, and with Tyler gone and Karina absent, the crew scrambled to keep up. Nathaniel jumped back on register beside Ava, who was now clearly lead by default. She handled orders with precision, but didn't hesitate to delegate. "Louis, we're out of Chipotle mayo," she called over her shoulder. "Can you pull a new bottle from dry storage?" Louis nodded and headed toward the back. Nathaniel handed a receipt to a man in a construction vest and turned to Ava. "You ever led a shift before?" "Not officially," she said, "but I've done it." "You're doing it now." She glanced at him, uncertain. "For real?" "I'm not joking." There wasn't time to pause. A woman at the counter was explaining her dairy allergy, and Nathaniel watched as Ava immediately flagged Paula, a kitchen team member he hadn't spoken with yet. Paula stepped forward and began preparing the sandwich on a sanitized board, gloves changed, using ingredients from unopened containers. Every step was confident, practiced. "You've done allergy orders before?" Nathaniel asked as he helped bag a combo. "Yeah," Paula said. "My brother's got celiac. I don't mess around." "Good, that's the kind of awareness we need." The lunch rush lasted about 90 minutes. When the line finally shrank to a trickle, the team looked like they'd just finished a sprint. Nathaniel looked around. No one had taken a break. He turned to Ava, who's off shift first. "Louis and Danica, they were both here at open." "Send them to the back, I'll cover dishes." "But you're..." "I'm working here today. That means do what's needed." She nodded and relayed the instructions. Louis looked surprised but went without hesitation. Danica gave Nathaniel a look on her way past, not grateful, not skeptical, just watching, still calibrating. Nathaniel stepped into the dish pit. He rolled up his sleeves, grabbed gloves, and started rinsing trays. The sink was deep and the water too hot, but it felt good to contribute in a real way. He'd spent too many years managing things from afar: contracts, expansion pitches, lease agreements. But this was different. This was where the company lived or died. Behind the line, under pressure, in moments when no one was watching. He was halfway through a tub of utensils when Ava stepped in. "Phone call for you," she said. "From corporate, line 2. He dried his hands and stepped into the office. "Yeah." A clipped voice answered. "Mr. Tiller, this is Denise from HR. We've received some calls from terminated employees Tyler and Karina. They're claiming wrongful dismissal." "Did they mention why they were terminated?" "They said it was sudden, without a formal write-up process." Nathaniel exhaled. "Do you have the employee feedback reports I emailed this morning?" "I do." "Then you know they violated multiple policies. At least one of them repeatedly endangered minors and created a retaliatory environment." "Yes, sir. I just needed confirmation before finalizing the record." "Confirmed. And Denise, make sure we review every manager's conduct at the remaining stores in this district. Quiet problems like this don't stay isolated." "Understood." He hung up and turned to find Paula standing at the door. "Sorry," she said. "Didn't mean to interrupt." "It's all right. Something you need." She stepped inside and closed the door. "I wasn't going to say anything, but if you're really trying to fix things." He leaned forward. "Go on." "Karina used to let Tyler control the schedule. He'd cut hours for people he didn't like, especially if they weren't." She hesitated. "Weren't what?" "White." The air in the room shifted. Paula's jaw tightened. "He only ever said it in private. Once he told me I should be grateful, even had hours, and that if I spoke English better, I'd get more. I was born here, sir." Nathaniel stood. Did anyone else hear that? Danica did, so did Oliver, but no one wanted to say anything. We all needed the job. He stepped around the desk. "Paula, thank you. That's not just unacceptable, that's illegal, and none of you should have had to carry that." Her eyes welled, but she blinked it away. "I didn't want to be the one to stir things up." "You're not stirring anything. You're cleaning it out." He paused. "Would you be willing to help us with training going forward? You clearly know procedures, and I want team leads who set the right tone." She stared at him as if unsure he was serious. "I'll think about it," she said quietly. "Good, let me know when you're ready." She left, and he stood alone in the office for a moment. What started as a labor issue had unraveled into something deeper: abuse of power, discrimination, a culture of fear, and it hadn't just been tolerated, it had been protected by silence and performance metrics. He walked back onto the floor. Ava was finishing up the last of the afternoon prep. A couple of customers lingered at tables, nursing sodas, chatting quietly. The worst of the day was over. "I want to meet with the whole team after close," he said to her. "Everyone who's still on shift." Ava looked up. "We in trouble?" "No," he said, "but we're going to talk about what comes next. And this time, everyone's voice is going to matter." She nodded once, then turned back to the register. Nathaniel didn't sit down the rest of the shift. Not because he couldn't, but because he didn't want to. Not yet. Not until he'd earned the right. The store had just locked its doors for the night. Chairs were flipped onto tables, the floor was halfway mopped, and the last few sandwich bins were being sealed and labeled. The team was drained, but not in the defeated way Nathaniel had seen before. Now, the fatigue came with a cautious sense of relief, like the first breath after being underwater too long. He stood near the front counter, sleeves rolled up, apron still on. The staff gathered slowly. Ava leaned against the prep table, arms folded but eyes steady. Louis stood off to the side, still drying his hands on a towel. Paula finished wiping down the allergen board before joining. Danica took a seat on one of the flipped chairs, legs crossed, watching him closely. Nathaniel waited until everyone was in the room. "I know it's late and I know you're all tired, but this is important," he said. "We can't fix everything in a day, but we've started, and now I need your help building something better." No one spoke right away. He didn't expect them to. They were used to meetings meaning criticism, not collaboration. "I'm not here to give a speech," he continued. "I've been here the last 2 days, and what I saw told me we've been failing you. Not just here, probably in other stores too. That's on me. I built this company, and I let it grow without protecting the people who make it run." Louis looked up. "You gonna shut us down?" "No," Nathaniel said, "but I'm going to rebuild how we operate, starting with leadership." He pulled a small stack of documents from the counter and held them up. "These are interim management proposals. I don't believe in dropping in someone from corporate who's never worked a shift on the floor. So I'm offering internal promotions. You've already shown more responsibility than the people who had titles." He handed the first sheet to Ava. "You've handled pressure, customer issues, and crew coordination without being asked. I'd like you to step in as acting shift lead. You'll get full training, a pay bump, and a say in hiring the next assistant manager." Ava stared at the paper like it might change shape. "You're serious?" "I don't hand out titles to make people feel better," Nathaniel said. "I give them when someone's already doing the work." She nodded slowly, then took the paper without a word. He turned to Paula. "You've got food safety knowledge that most managers don't even bother to learn. I want you leading compliance and training for this location. If you're open to it, I'll schedule a certification course through our health partner. Paid." Paula shifted her weight, then nodded once. "I'm in." Danica raised a hand slightly. "What about the schedule?" "What about it?" "It's a mess. We're always scrambled, and no one knows who's doing what till the last minute." "I've already requested a full audit," Nathaniel said, "but I want someone here helping rebuild it from scratch, someone who understands the flow of the floor. You interested?" Danica hesitated, then gave a subtle nod. "If I can keep working prep, yeah." "Done." Louis crossed his arms. "What happens if we get new managers and they turn out like the last ones?" "Good question," Nathaniel said. "From now on, every store will have an anonymous reporting channel that goes directly to a neutral compliance officer. Not to corporate, not to store managers. Reports will be reviewed weekly. No more burying issues." Ava looked up from her document. "What about the kids that left?" "I've already reached out to Oliver's parents," he said. "We're offering him his job back if he wants it, with guaranteed protections and flexibility. I'm also refunding his last paycheck with a bonus. What happened to him shouldn't have happened to anyone." Danica's foot tapped the chair leg once. "And Devin?" "I don't have contact info for him," Nathaniel said. "If you do, and he's willing to talk, I'll listen. But I won't chase anyone who's made peace with walking away. That's their call." Paula glanced at Louis. "What happens tomorrow?" "Short-staffed," Louis said before Nathaniel could answer. Nathaniel nodded. "We'll be lean. I'm bringing in 2 team members from another store temporarily, but you'll still be working harder than you should. That's the cost of cleaning up someone else's mess. It won't be forever, and you'll be compensated. Anyone who needs to adjust hours, speak with me before you leave tonight." Ava raised an eyebrow. "You sticking around?" "As long as I'm needed." Danica cut in. "That include the other stores?" Nathaniel's face didn't shift. "I'll be visiting every one of them. This isn't just about fixing one location." For a moment, silence settled over the room again. Not tense this time, just quiet. The way people get when they're trying to decide if they believe what they're hearing. Lewis broke it. You know, Tyler said once that owners don't care, that we're all replaceable. Nathaniel met his eyes. He's wrong, and he's not coming back. Lewis didn't respond, but he didn't look away. Nathaniel turned to the counter and picked up a small binder. This is the new operations log. Every shift, you'll write down what worked, what didn't, and what needs attention. Not for someone to punish you so we can track what's actually happening. No more guessing from spreadsheets. He set it down. If no one has any other concerns, I'll let you finish closing. Ava stepped forward. I do. Nathaniel nodded. Go ahead. You said there's going to be a rebuild. What happens if we start getting good again? More customers, more sales. Does corporate forget about us until something breaks again? Nathaniel kept his eyes on hers. That's a fair question. Can't promise perfection, but can promise this: we're installing a rotating review system. Every store gets visited quarterly, no notice, no schedule, just someone showing up and working a shift. You'll never go more than 90 days without being seen. Ava seemed to consider that, then nodded once. All right, she said. Danica stood, brushing off her apron. I guess I better start learning how to fix the schedule. Lewis gave a half laugh. You sure you want that curse? I want to stop waking up and checking my phone in fear, she said. Paula picked up a stack of towels from the counter. If we're done, I'm finishing the line wipe down. Nathaniel stepped back. Go ahead, and if anything changes anything at all, you come to me, directly. As the crew began moving again, quieter now but with a different kind of urgency, Nathaniel walked to the front and turned off the last of the lights, leaving only the glow of the prep station and the soft hum of the cooler. He didn't feel proud, not yet. But for the first time in a long while, he felt like a leader again. Not because he'd fired anyone. Because he'd finally started listening.